will go ahead and call to order the June meeting of the Planning Commission. Can I have a roll call, please? Cody.
There you go. Is it Cody?
Mine this time.
Okay. Hearing you once is enough.
Commissioner Sholay,
Present.
Commissioner Stringer,
Here.
Commissioner Knapp,
Here.
Commissioner McCaffrey,
Here.
Commissioner Whitehouse, Commissioner Carmen, Chair Sarter.
Here. Staff, any additions or deletions from the agenda tonight?
No additions or changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Anyone here wish to speak on any non-agenda items? This will be your chance to take the podium. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May? The May Planning Commission.
Just me.
I don't need to know it. Whoever makes the motion needs to know it.
That's what I was asking. Let's say third. God, I can't even read today. 5. Okay. I move to approve the meeting minutes from the May 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sholay,
Yes.
Stringer,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaffrey,
Yes.
Chair Sarter.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to our new business for tonight, and I will turn it over to Mr. Byrd.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Oh.
I'm presenting an item tonight. I've been leaning on Mr. Checkett and Ms. Lenore for some of the last presentations, but I'll stand at the podium for this one tonight. Good evening. I'm Cody Byrd. I'm the town's planning director. It's my pleasure to present to you tonight final plat for Wellington Business Center Amendment Number 1. You can cycle to the next slide, please. This is a property. It's about roughly 10 acres in size. It's located at the south end of town along the I-25 frontage road, just south of Wine Cup Street. The property is zoned C3 mixed-use commercial, and the Planning Commission, actually, next slide, please. Don't want to jump too far ahead. Planning Commission has previously considered a site development plan for this property in October of 2024. And at that time, the preliminary plat for the same was considered and recommended for approval. The Board of Trustees heard the preliminary plat hearing at their October 22nd, 2024 meeting. And there were a few changes requested to the final plat that were made by the applicant and represented. The site development plan conditions of approval have all been satisfied, so the project continues to move forward. And the final plat is really the last step of that process for this developer to move into building permit phase. Next slide, please. So this slide is a representation of the plat layout. The full plat was included in your staff report packet. But on this particular slide, you can see it's proposed to be 2 lots. Those 2 lots are roughly the same as the existing lots, but the plat process is to clean up some of the easement dedications, vacate some easements that are no longer needed, and otherwise align public utilities that are needed to serve the development with a development agreement that will be considered by the Board of Trustees. So also in your packet, you have from the site development plan, you see a overall layout sheet and a utility plan. If you match that utility plan up with this plat drawing, you'll see that the easements are located over those utilities and correspond. So the final plat corresponds to the site development plan already approved by the Planning Commission. Next slide, please. In your package, you'll also see this phasing plan. This is a fairly substantial commercial development. The development is proposed to be constructed in phases. Phase 1A would be the first phase in this proposed development plan, and would represent the portion that the developer is going to take on first. The subsequent phases, 1B might come on shortly after this. Phase 1C, as colored on this map, is actually a temporary detention pond that was constructed many years ago to handle the stormwater for the site. And as part of this proposed development plan, that will actually go away eventually to make room for another commercial site. And phase 2 would be the last phase as contemplated These phases don't necessarily have to go in that order. However, the utility infrastructure has been lined out where this logical progression would make sense. If we change the order of the phasing, we'd have to update the utility plans accordingly, and all that can be accomplished if needed. Next slide, please. So I won't read every one of these, but in consideration of a final plat, the Planning Commission takes a look at the findings for approval. For a final plat, you've already looked at the preliminary and you've already looked at the site development plan for this particular project. So really, you're checking to make sure that the final plat's in conformance with what was approved for the preliminary, that the technical standards are satisfied, and that criteria for Article 5, which are your development standards, are satisfied. Most of your Article 5 standards that you're looking at were contemplated during the site development plan, and staff's review on this took a look at the final plat to make sure that any of the subdivision factors, which are more in line with Article 6 of the Land Use Code, are reflected, and staff finds that they are. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, the staff is recommending approval of the final plat for Wellington Business Center Amendment Number 1. We do find that the findings of approval are satisfied. There are a couple of revisions that staff is recommending when we got the final plat submitted for review. There are some changes we'd recommend to the owner certification. This is reflecting the current business owner entity and the appropriate signature authority for that owner. Updating the attorney certification. There are 2 attorney certificates on the plat, roughly saying the same thing, so it's just duplicative, and we recommend removing one. Correcting some labeling. These are things like just north of the plat says Wellington Business Park, and it's technically Wellington Business Center. So just some cleanup things there for correctness and accuracy. And then the really big portion, not even big, but the most substantive portion that I wanted to highlight is we do recommend modifying one of the public utility easement dedications. Mr. Checkett, if you could go back a slide to the phasing plan, maybe 2 slides. So on this phasing plan, it really highlights, if you see the blue line between phase 1A and phase 2, there's a utility easement there that provides for Town of Wellington public water line. And it's currently on this plat shown within a 40-foot utility easement. We got some additional comments from Excel Energy that wanted some language dedicated on the plat regarding dry utilities, so electric, gas, telecommunications of that like. And they wanted some additional dedication language that gave them a little bit more authority for their areas. And that caused a trigger for the town to say, well, we really need this to be an exclusive easement. So we don't need gas or electric, other things running parallel to a town water line. We can allow crossings, but we don't need it parallel within that same easement. So what we recommended was reducing the width of that easement to 30 feet. So there's still 10 feet to allow for the private utility easement for gas, electric, and other utilities. But to make the 30-foot easement exclusive where only town public utilities can be located there. So that is a substantive change, but it's not very substantive because it's just moving one line 10 feet and changing a label. Go one more.
Right, back one, right?
Yep, one more. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, right there. You got it. I know there's a delay, so I'm looking for the recommendation slide. One more. One more. There it is. Okay. I'm sorry. I know that delay is between when you click the button. So in conclusion, with those noted minor revisions on the final plat, staff is recommending that this final plat for Wellington Business Center Amendment Number 1 is ready for approval. And we recommend that the Planning Commission approve the final plat or make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees to approve the final plat subject to those staff revisions. I'm happy to stand for any questions. There's also representatives from the application here tonight as well. Mr. Wimp, Mr. Leary, Mr. Mullet are all project members of that development proposal. So I'm happy to stand for any questions. Otherwise, we can turn it over to these gentlemen to present anything that they want to share.
Any questions for Mr. Bird? I think you're off the hook, bud.
Okay, then, and as I'm parting back to my seat, I can come back up and answer any questions. But I will go back a step and ask the planning commission for a public hearing on a final plat. If you have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications, meaning communications received outside of a public meeting, if you could just disclose those at this time. If there are any, we can hear those now. Otherwise, we'll let the applicant share some comments for their development proposal. We'll turn it back to the board or the planning commission for public comments. After the close of the public hearing, if there's any comments that the applicant wants to address, they can do that. Staff will make any closing comments, and then we'll turn it over to the planning commission for deliberations. All right, I'll have a seat, but I'll come back up if you have questions.
Okay. Anyone have any conflicts or ex parte communications to disclose?
Nope.
None? Perfect. Great. Whoever's willing and ready and able to speak from the applicant, feel free.
Got the short.
So as far as the overall concept of the subdivision or the buildings and all that, I guess, is there any questions relating to any of that?
Have anything? No, this was pretty clear on the preliminary plat. It was well done.
So anything else, anything that you want to hear from me, I guess, or with what's missed? Cody did a good job, I think, in representing what needed to be done.
Yeah, honestly, if we don't have any questions for the applicant, then we'll just do the public or the public hearing portion real quick. And then if anything comes up, we might have you back to the podium. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, if we don't have anything for the applicant or staff, I will go ahead and formally open the public hearing. If anyone from the public or the audience would like to come up and speak, you'll have 3 minutes. Just a reminder that it's a public speaking. It's not a back and forth discussion period. So you're free to use your 3 minutes, speak your piece, and then be seated. Anyone wish to come up? Or we just don't do that part. Public hearing portion's closed. Okay. I don't have any questions, guys. I think it's pretty straightforward. A lot of that is just like Cody said, clean up stuff. Okay. Commissioner McCaffrey, all by yourself over there?
It's kind of lonely over on this side
Poor
tonight.
guy.
You ready for a motion then, or is that what you're saying, or?
Anything else from staff that you'd like to add before we do?
I think the only thing I would mention procedurally is you do have findings for approval in the staff report packet. We recommended some staff findings. So if the planning commission is comfortable with those, you can adopt those findings or you can modify them if you have other findings you would like to make. But as part of your deliberations, we do establish the findings the planning commission makes for the plat.
I'm satisfied.
So I would just say I'm in agreement with the staff findings in the staff report and for findings, for grounds for approval of this.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for clarifying, Mr. Bird. That said, yeah, I think we're ready for a motion.
Go ahead.
I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of Trustees to approve the final plat for Wellington Business Center Amendment Number 1 with the conditions of approval outlined by the staff.
Second.
Roll call, please, Mr. Checkett.
Commissioner Schultz.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner McCaffrey,
Yes.
Chair Sarter.
Yes. Congratulations, fellas.
There you go.
All right.
When are you gonna be done?
Boy.
Have a great night. See ya.
Thank you.
Couple weeks, there you go.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we'll move on to second order of new business. There's a review of the amended site plan development for lots 1 and 2 in Bonfire. So I will turn it back over to Mr. Bird.
Thank you, Chairman. Going to introduce Mr. Aiden Checkett. He is going to be presenting this amended site plan for Kaufman Robinson, Inc. And we will get that screen share up here for you while he is making his way to the podium.
I'm not 6'4", so. Good evening, Commissioners. Aiden Checkett, Planner 1, presenting before you a proposed amended site plan for Kaufman and Robinson, Inc. I believe we have with us also a few members of the applicant team. Mr. Dario Bersena is the architect, Mr. Mike Overlander is the civil, and then Mr. Jason Oldham, the landscape architect on the project. At the end, they would be happy to answer any questions you might have. So Kaufman Robinson, Inc. is a proposed industrial use in the Bonfire subdivision, which is the large light industrial subdivision in the northeast of town. These two lots here are the proposed lots the applicant is looking at. It's surrounded by a number of already existing industrial lots on a site that already has public infrastructure laid out. And as we'll kind of dive into more, this site plan was already approved by this commission in November 2022. The applicant is coming back with a few changes that are necessitating an amended site plan. But thankfully, we have a lot of the fundamentals of this already undergone by this commission. So this should hopefully be a pretty straightforward review process. So like I mentioned, the applicant previously brought a site development plan before this board on November 7th, 2022. Site plan approvals are good for 3 years. So this site plan is actually valid until November 7th of this year. However, the owner is bringing before a few changes to the site plan, which for a couple of reasons we'll get into need to be brought before this body again, which is why we're considering this. However, this is an amendment to the site plan. It's largely the same as the already approved site plan, and we're just going to be looking at a few distinct changes. Coupled in with this, there's also a lot line adjustment that's part of this process. Basically, they have 2 lots right now, and for the building footprint to work and for constructability, we're going to need a lot line adjustment. The applicant understands this, and this was actually part of the previously agreed site plan as well. However, they decided that they would prefer to process that contingent on approval of this site plan. But the site plan would not be accepted by the town as official until that lot line adjustment is processed. So I mentioned earlier that we're going before with some changes. The primary reason for that is language in the land use code stipulating that any change greater than 10% that's quantifiable needs to be brought before it can't be administratively approved by staff. So there's only actually one change that the applicant is proposing over that 10% threshold, and that's the building height. The proposed highest point on the building on the previous plan was 28 feet, and now we're looking at 37 feet. So that's an increase of about 35%. So obviously over that 10%. I'll get into this more later. That is still comfortably under the maximum allowed in that zone district. There are also other minor changes proposed to the building footprint, the landscaping, the parking, and illumination. All of those fall under that 10% threshold. So those changes would not in and of themselves necessitate a review by this board. But the applicant was willing, for the sake of transparency and communication, to bring those up as well, so we can also discuss those briefly. Again, really minor changes there. Like I mentioned, a review of an amended site plan is chiefly focusing on what those changes are. So in this case, that 10% threshold on the height, and then those other changes to the building footprint, the landscaping, the parking, and the illumination. If a finding was previously made by this board and nothing has changed, there's no need to kind of rehash that because, again, this is a valid site plan. We're just looking at some amendments. Here are your findings for approval. I'm not going to read these all out. I'm sure you guys are more than familiar with these at this point, but most of these, again, all of these were found by this board 2.5 years ago, and we're looking at a site plan which has only very minor differences from that one. So staff believes these findings should be able to be comfortably addressed. Here is the site plan. As you can see, the applicant is proposing one large industrial structure of, I believe, about 250,000 square feet, surrounded by a parking lot to the west and fairly large landscaping on either side. There's public right-of-way on the south on Glow Avenue, and then to the left or to the west and to the north, both into unincorporated Larimer County. And I'm happy to go back to that if at any point you guys have questions about specifics for the site plan. I also included the elevation sheet because this is that 10% threshold we're talking about. It might be kind of hard for you guys to see, but the proposed building, the highest point on the proposed building is now at 37 feet rather than 28 feet like it was before. And that's detailed on this sheet here. This was also included in your packet in the plan sheets for the project. So I'll breeze through these staff comments because they're largely just reiterating the already approved site. It's zoned light industrial. It's industrial in the comp plan. We're proposing an industrial use. None of that's changed. The lot size and lot dimensions have also not changed at all. I mentioned the lot line adjustment earlier, that will be needed for final acceptance, but that is in the works and that's an administrative approval for staff. So staff is confident that that will be done successfully. No buildings or structures infringe on easements, and the easements have not changed at all since the commission previously saw this plan. Similarly, no changes to the drainage plans. The town engineering staff did review all the documents and found nothing that could be perceived as an issue. Regarding density and dimensions, also nothing changed. No density, it's not residential, right? No PUD, meets the floor area ratio, meets setbacks. And then that height again, that 28 to 37 feet, still has 8 feet of clearance until you reach the district maximum. So that's not a concern from a code standpoint. There were very minor changes made to the parking, just moving around a couple of spots to accommodate change to the building. The total number of spots are the same and meet town standards. Similarly, there were very small landscaping changes, moving a couple islands, turning them into a strip along the parking lot. Staff is confident that landscaping meets town standards. The only thing of note is that when this board previously saw this site plan, they allowed a slight flexibility with the rules on the screening requirements for the east side of the lot that faces another industrial property. And this commission and staff believed at that point, and staff still believes, that those standards are unnecessary considering there's no public right of way or public access. It's just two industrial properties facing out on each other. So really minor adjustments there. Exterior lighting, very, very incremental changes. Nothing that affects site plan in any real way. I mentioned the height increase before, probably for the fourth time now. That's the reason we're here. That's the change, but that's still well under the maximum allowed in the district. And then, yeah, no changes to utilities, no changes to driveways and circulation. All of those the same as whenever this was previously approved. So based on all of that, staff recommends that this commission move to approve the amended site plan development subject to addressing planning and engineering comments. The only planning comment here is essentially that we're not going to be able to accept this until that lot line adjustment is done, which the applicant understands. There were a few engineering comments, chiefly around labeling, a couple terminology issues, nothing that would affect the site plan in any substantial way. Yeah, so we're really excited to see KRI back after a few years. Staff believes this project would be a great addition to town. They're a great company. They've been in Fort Collins for quite a few years now and done great work there. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And Mr. Oldham, Mr. Barcena, and Mr. Oberlander are also available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Checkett.
I have one quick question.
Any questions for?
Really quick, easy question. When you said there was minor changes to the landscape plan on the south and the west side, is that changing the amount of screening or just the type of screening material?
Largely the changes are around kind of the location and type. I think there was actually a slight increase on screening on the west side, but it previously met standards. It still meets standards. So
Perfect,
We're
thank you.
comfortable with that. Yeah.
Okay.
If you said this, maybe missed it, but was there a specific reason for needing to go? Was it like 10 feet higher? About 8 feet? 9 feet higher?
The reason for the increase in the building
Yeah.
height, yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, come on up to the podium if you would.
Thank you.
You came all the way up here. You may as well stand up.
Oh, yeah, hey, I get to talk. So originally, the intention was to have 14 feet on the like fabrication area. And once we presented to the ownership, they needed 14 feet clear. So then by the time that you add like dock work and like all the feeds from like for electrical and HVAC, we started going up, so that squeezed the second floor, so there's a partial second floor. So we had to go higher because of that reason. It was their equipment clearances mainly.
Interior clearances. Makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Guys got anything else? Sherman? Commissioner McCaffrey?
No.
No? Okay.
Cool. Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
we're good. Great. Thank you, Mr. Checkett. Okay, if there are no other questions for staff or the applicant, we can take a motion. No, it's site plan review. There's no public hearing.
That's correct. So yeah, site plan review is one of the few items that doesn't have a public hearing. We still discuss it in a public meeting, but it doesn't have the hearing process associated.
Ask that every time.
It's a good question. Consistency is good.
Since it's just a site plan.
All right, the one time I rushed through it, Cody, be like, no, there is a public hearing. We need to do that.
We have to ask for public-
Nope, no, we do not. Nope, site plan review. And like you said, 9 feet on the building is the only reason they're back here. So I'm satisfied with everything else. We did it. I think we did it right the first time.
Do we have to make findings of approval again?
Good looking building.
It is a nice building, fellas.
So there are findings for approval for a site development plan, and we recommend those in the packet. Again, similar to the last one, if you're comfortable with the findings, then you can adopt the staff's findings, or if you have other considerations that the planning commission wants to discuss, you can add those to it too.
Same statement. If we're all good with staff recommendations, then we're ready for a motion.
He's just providing the words.
All right, somebody do it.
Okay, I move to approve, thank you. I move to approve the amended site development plan for Lot 1 and Lot 2 Bonfire Subdivision Filing 2 with conditions of approval as outlined by staff.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Stringer,
Yes.
Commissioner Knack,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaffrey,
Yes.
Chair Sarter.
Yes. Motion passes. Good job. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate the time. Okay, we'll move on to staff communications.
Thank you, Chairman. I have two communications. The first one is a follow-up on a request from the last planning commission meeting, when we do public hearings and or any development proposal, and we refer those applications to outside agencies. The request was, can we provide some additional information regarding who those are referred to and whether or not they responded? So we did not do that for this particular meeting tonight because we were already in process. We didn't want to change the game midway through on a development application. But what we would like to do for future to kind of honor that request was present just kind of a checklist of these are our outside agencies, utility referrals, just by organization, not the details of this is the person and their phone number and all the other things that we track, but just by organization, identifying this is who we referred it to and whether or not they responded. I don't anticipate including every single response that we get unless that's information that the planning commission would like to see. Most of the time, it's a pretty boilerplate type of response, or it's a we don't have any comments, or a non-response at all, which we accept as no comment, meaning they have no comments and they don't object. But so if that's something that would be useful for the planning commission, we would propose to just for the future submit, here's the list of agencies and whether or not they did or did not respond. Would that help for that request? Okay.
Sure.
Well, oh, absolutely. I think it was a really good question and a good request. We just didn't want to change it on the applications that were already in the queue, but for new ones, we would look to do that. Thank you for that guidance. The second communication I'd like to share, our next meeting is in July, which there's normally a July 4th holiday that almost always interferes in some way with the first meeting. So your planning commission meeting schedule that was adopted moved that to July 14th. But I'd also like to share that we don't currently have any action items on the schedule for the July meeting. So your alternatives are, we can schedule a work session on some topic that the planning commission recommends, or we can cancel the July meeting and see what happens in August.
I'll go for that one.
I'm good with option number 2.
Canceling, and I can I'll maybe send an email with a list of these are some of the work session topics that we can consider for August if we don't have action items.
That's
Yeah,
what I was gonna suggest. If it looks
Okay.
like August is open again, let's at least get a work session in August to stay somewhat professional.
Thank you for the option
I-
for July. I
Hey.
feel like July's a-
July, it's travel and there are a lot of absences typically in summer anyway, so if there's not anything pertinent.
Well,
Pass.
For that vacation day off.
I'll think about it.
As far as it'll get.
Oh, good.
As far as it'll get.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the guidance and the feedback. We'll plan on canceling the July meeting, and I will send out a communication with some topics for possible work sessions for the future. I don't have any other communications. Thank you.
Fantastic. Anybody have any?
Great presentations today. You guys both did awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for
Good work,
making it
fellas.
easy today. Well, thank you guys for making it easy today.
In large part, it helps when our applicants put everything together in a very nice package and make it easy for us to do.
Yeah, this was good.
Yeah,
I
like
didn't know
round of
what was it.
applause, seriously.
Yeah, I looked at it and went, oh, we might be here all night. When I saw the, I'm like, oh.
It was awesome. Thank you.
We've had 5-minute meetings last longer than this.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
I mean, that's usually my fault.
Well
I'm
said.
sure.
Well, speaking of not lasting too long, anything else? No. Adjourned.